Do you ever find yourself where, like, maybe you're cuddling with your girlfriend or your wife and you're laying in bed and you just feel the need to go, "Honey, are you happy? Do I make you happy? Do you love me? Honey, do you love me?" Do you feel the need to ask questions like that? Like you want reassurance that you're doing a good job kind of thing? That's approval seeking, validation seeking behavior, and that will instantly dry up her vagina. She doesn't want you to ask her that kind of stuff. Women will ask those types of questions all the time because women naturally are validation seeking. They naturally want approval from their man. They have to see you as above them in some way. She doesn't want you to ask her that kind of stuff. Women will ask those types of questions all the time because women naturally are validation seeking. They naturally want approval from their man. They have to see you as above them in some way. This is hypergamy, right? Women have to see you as above them in some way. And so they're always looking for a guy that they see as their best hypergamous option. They're always looking for his validation and approval. So if you're doing that to her, you're acting like a woman in that sense, right? And she's going to get the ick. She doesn't know why. She's going to be like, why is he asking me this stuff? Of course I love him. I just banged his brains out. You know what I mean? Like, so you don't want to be approval seeking behavior. That's weak frame. You're basically trying to you're entering her frame then, right? Like you want her validation. No, it's got to be the other way around, right? If she's operating in your frame, she's going to be seeking your validation, your approval. You see that? And that's what she wants, right? That's using hypergamy to your advantage. Over explaining yourself. We call it deering in the space. Shout out to Dr. Robert Glover for that one. But deering, defend, explain, excuse, rationalize. All right. If you find that if she questions something you do, whatever, and you feel like you have to justify yourself, explain yourself, all that kind of stuff, it puts you at a one down position from her. Right. Like now you're making her the judge, the decider of what you're doing, if that's okay or not, right? If you have to explain yourself to her. You got to think of it this way. It sounds toxic as hell, but it's a good mental model for men to have is that you're the king. You're the king. You don't have to explain yourself to the subjects, right? If you have that mental model, you'll explain yourself less and she'll respect you more. But if she's constantly questioning you and then you, instead of just being like, I do what I do, don't worry about it, right? If you're constantly like, well, I'm doing it this way because of blah, 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 you're trying to get her buy-in, her approval. It's basically approval seeking behavior. It's weak. It's weak frame. Okay. So stop doing that. You're actually killing attraction when you do that. And then any kind of form of negotiating attraction, right? If you're trying to negotiate attraction or desire, it's never going to work. You can't negotiate desire. But that's where like things like love languages come in, like love languages. This is why love languages don't work, is because when people, you're basically just trying to exchange something, you're trying to have this transactional relationship. Okay, honey, I got you flowers. You said that your love language is gift giving or receiving gifts. So here's some flowers. Now, may I have some physical touch? Right? That doesn't exactly inspire it doesn't exactly inspire attraction when you're doing it that way. And women see right through that kind of thing. Women see gift giving, like flowers, chocolates. You're overly complimenting them. They see all that kind of stuff as bribes for sex. Like women aren't stupid. They know exactly what you're doing, and you're trying to negotiate desire, and that kills attraction over time. Okay. So don't do any of that kind of crap. It doesn't help. It's not going to help you at all. Some examples of strong behaviors: calm, confident responses. Right? If I was just having a client call right before this. That's why I was 11 minutes late. But one of the things that my client was telling me is that this past week, his wife did something that pissed him off And so he got into an argument with her about it. But what he did right is this. I'll tell you what he did right. He stayed calm. Like what she did needed to be corrected, right? But he didn't yell at her. He didn't get overly emotional about it. Um, he didn't let his emotions get the best of him, and he stayed calm. And he just used assertive communication to explain the boundaries, and that's exactly what you want to do, right? The calmest person is going to win in this, but the biggest problem is that we always hear how communication is like so important in relationships. Problem is that nobody knows how to communicate. Like women, least of all. God bless them. Women think they're great communicators because they talk a lot. They are terrible communicators, right? Women would do better if they spoke to men more directly, succinctly, got to the point, and they were a little more solution oriented, because then they're speaking men's language. You know what I mean? But they don't do that. Women speak in circles. They are more emotional. They use indirect communication. They like to drop subtle hints, and they just hope that you just read between the lines, because that's how women communicate, right? Women communicate through subtext. Men communicate with language, with actual language, right? So we're speaking two different languages here. But I don't know where I was going with that. But the problem, so the problem is that when men think that they're communicating, what they end up doing is just yelling at their top of their lungs, thinking that the more that they raise their voice, the better she's going to hear them, right? Well, she clearly can't hear me. My voice must not be loud enough. Let me yell more, right? Well, if you're yelling at her, she's not receiving that information because she's tuning all that out. You know what I mean? Like she's not listening to any of that. All she hears is the tone, and she shuts down and stops listening, So there's no communication actually taking place there, right? So if you can stay calm and confident in your responses, you're actually going to get some communication done. She's actually going to listen to you because she's going to read the subtext, which is your calm demeanor and your confident body language, and she's going to pay attention. You understand? Sticking to your boundaries without emotional reactivity. Okay. One of the biggest things that I teach men as a part of my consultation process is how to effectively set clear boundaries and be assertive, right? And a lot of people think assertive means being aggressive. You don't have to be aggressive at all. You just need to just stick with your guns and just keep on topic. Keep on topic, right? That's where tools like broken record, negative assertion, all that kind of stuff come into play, right? Another example of strong frame behavior is leading the relationship with certainty, right? A lot of guys are very go with the flow. They let their wives handle everything. They hand the reins over to their wives to lead the relationship. She doesn't want to be the lead in the relationship. She wants you to lead the relationship. And so, if you are going to actually set the tone and take the lead in the relationship, that means you need to have some kind of vision of where this relationship is going, right? So you got to lead with certainty and clarity. That means like you need to be the guy that makes the plans. You need to be the guy that makes the decisions. You know what I mean? But a lot of guys don't do that. And they have this concept of an equal partnership. Oh, she's my partner. But then what tends to happen is when they think of her as a partner, they want that equal buy-in. So they defer to her and they leave her up to all the decision making up to her, trying to make her happy. And none of that makes her happy because women don't want to be the decider. They don't want to be the one that's leading. You understand? And so if you don't do that, if you set the tone and lead, make those decisions, and you lead with certainty and all that kind of stuff, and confidence and clarity, and that strong frame behavior, and women want to that'll actually have them relaxing into their feminine and wanting to follow your lead, right? But it's not your fault, guys. It's not your fault if you're not doing all this already. I just did a stitch of a guy's video this morning on TikTok. Like early this morning, I saw it when I woke up, and it was this guy saying, I don't understand these guys and how they can cheat on their wives. Like, I would never cheat on my wife, because if I was going to do that, first she would have to plan it, and then she would have to remind me about it, right? And of course, it's going viral because all the guys in the comments are like, yeah, my wife plans all this stuff. And, you know, and I'm going to have to ask her for the money to go up for the date because she runs all that shit too. Like all these guys are conditioned to do that because society has conditioned men to defer to their wives and have weak frame. And it's killing relationships. That's why we have a 50% divorce rate. Right? We call this beta programming. A good example of this is the happy wife, happy life trope, right? Happy wife, happy life, guys. Just make her happy and everything will be fine. If you do that, that's the furthest thing from being happy, right? Like your wife, it'll be the furthest thing from your wife being happy if you're trying to make her happy all the time. It'll piss her off because you're validation seeking behavior. You're leaving the relationship up to her. You're letting her make all the decisions. And you're going to wonder why you're in a dead bedroom in a few years if you keep doing that kind of crap, right? But that's beta programming. Masculine leadership is demonized today. It's looked at as toxic masculinity, right? Oh, it's so toxic. The American Psychological Association a couple of years ago said that masculine leadership is toxic masculinity, and toxic masculinity is somehow a mental disorder, right? And so we're demonized for that. They have commercials like Gillette talking about how we need to be better men. We need to step up and you know, whatever, be better for women. But then when we do all that kind of stuff, women are increasingly more unhappy. And then they wonder where all the good men are because they crave that masculine leadership. They're hardwired for it. I had a conversation with a client yesterday. He had a really good point where he was watching a video and they were talking about why like secretaries almost always end up like getting with their bosses or marrying their bosses and stuff like that. It's because that natural male leadership dynamic where he, you know, gives her instructions. It's expected. She's, you know, she does what he tells them to do. It just feels natural because he's the boss, right? He's the boss. He's the leader. He has a position of status. She looks up to him because he's the boss, right? That's hypergamy, man. Like it's natural. Like she wants that. She's like, ooh, I like that. This guy's, you know, he's not a jerk about it, but he tells me what to do. He's got a vision. He knows what he wants. Like that's attractive, right? Well, it's the same thing in your relationship. You can't be that kind of guy at work where you attract this girl. It's not a good idea to date your coworkers anyway. Just you're going to catch a rap from the HR. Just, you know, workplaces is not a good sexual zone. Just saying. But a lot of you guys are going to disregard that anyway. A lot of women are going to be like, I met my husband at work, right? Like, okay, great. It's not smart. It's not smart. Anyway, going off on a tangent here, but you can't be that guy at work where she's attracted to you because of your leadership and your status at work, and then now all of a sudden you're making her in charge at home, because that's going to kill that attraction. The reason why she was attracted to you in the first place is because of that leadership and that dominance and all that kind of stuff, right?
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.